And it's not going to be good if you are not taking it seriously. And a lot of people think that, oh, now a camera, now I can just film something and it's a film. I will beg to differ, because I feel like a film has a direction, it has a vision. It's not something you just do at a spur of the moment, sort of thing. Yeah. Sure. My name is Mary Hasavari. I'm a filmmaker, director, and writer, also producer. I started as a filmmaker, I would say, when I was 16. I made my first short film about Norwegian black metal and goth music. And after that, I did things in between, and then I went to London Film School, which I graduated in 2015. And I worked a little bit in the film industry around the world. Prior to that, I was an assistant for Electric Eel Films in Thailand. And after I graduated, I ended up going back to Thailand to work on more films, actually American action films, but in different roles. And then I started pursuing my own craft again, as a filmmaker. I made several short films, and then now I eventually came back to Norway again, where I grew up.
Cool, cool. Okay. So you did remember the trigger was around 16 years old. So you remember how was it? So you were doing some, I don't know, you were grabbing the camera or?
No, actually, it was a little bit more of a structured setting, because I did media and communication. So in Norway, in high school already, you can choose your major. And we learned how to, make little short films. And we had a DV tape camera, so that's what we used. Yeah, and then at that time, I wanted to make a documentary. So, so I went around, I went to concerts, I went to old people's homes, I set up talking head interviews, all of that. So that's when it started, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you've been to film school. How was it there in
I
Norway?
went to London Film School 6 years ago. I graduated. It was interesting, very interesting experience. And at London Film School, you get to, it's a very practical school. So you sort of learn by doing, and you get to learn the different aspects of filmmaking, from cinematography to directing to editing to producing. So yeah, you learn a lot of skills when you graduate, you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You can, yeah, yeah, you can grow some skills, of course. And how long did you stay there?
To at London Film School, I did my master's there, so it was 2 years. But I actually graduate. You can do another term, like 2.5 years, but I wanted to be done by 2 years, because I had other things I wanted to do than go to school. So I made sure I was done 2 years, and then I left. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, did you start your first short film at the film school or after?
My first short film, like, I don't know, like technically my first short film was when I was 16 at during media and communication, and I made many short films after that as well. uh, but my first film, like festival film, was like my graduation film. Yeah.
Okay. About your last project, can you tell me more about it? Was How did you get inspired? Uh,
Yeah, so my recent project, it's called Dama, and it's funded by the Norwegian cultural, what is it called? Kulturrådet. Cultural fund.
cultural,
And
yeah,
so it
yeah, some kind of thing like that. Yeah.
one of the projects I'm currently working on is a feature documentary and stage performance called Dama. It's a collaboration with artist Karen Nicole, which will co-direct it together with me. we will film the documentary in Thailand and in a youth prison actually for underage boys, as well as a monastery for female monks, bhikkhuni nuns. And the premiere will be in Oslo, Norway, hopefully next year. And I was inspired to make this film. Actually, in 2014, I visited this temple for bhikkhuni nuns or female monks in Thailand, and I got really curious about them. So I followed them around, I filmed them, and ended up filming a ceremony, a forgiveness ceremony that they have every year at the youth detention center. It's like a prison for underage boys where they actually take on, uh, like what you call, they embody the children's mothers in these ceremonies, which I found very interesting because I'm interested in non-duality, synthesis, like what is the thing that's in between good and evil, for example, right? So on one hand, you have the nuns, which by society are seen as holy or the good people, right? And then on the other hand, you have these prisoners, right? The criminals who by society are seen as the bad people. However, these prisoners are children, which we also see as innocent, while the nuns, the bhikkhuni nuns, they're female monks in a way, and they are not legitimate because they're women in Thailand. So I find that very interesting what they have in common and what's, the differences, but mainly what they have in common and how this forgiveness ceremony eliminates this distance between them and create this bond that becomes like mother and son. Yeah.
It's kind of two worlds. They interact with each other, and I think you can see some, I don't know, best results maybe at some after some efforts maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you prepare this
How
project?
did I prepare it? You mean the first time I filmed inside the prison or the first time I went to research?
I think yeah, before the pre-production,
Right.
the research and stuff.
I came over by coincidence, I think, an article about them. And so I was just curious. And at that time I was in Thailand, and they were working, and sorry, they were working, they are based in a temple that's like a little bit outside of Bangkok. And so I just went there. I got an appointment, went there, and started to interview them. I asked, of course, if permission to film before I went. So yeah, that's one part of the preparation. You have to ask for permission what you want to do, right? And but while I was there, I got to know one of the nuns, very well. And she used to be a journalist before she became a nun. And I think she was a nun for about 5 years. And then she decided to stop being a nun and she came out again. And that's when I contacted her and asked if she wanted to be my assistant, actually. So we ended up working together also on other projects. So yeah, quite interesting how life turns out. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I call them and, write an email and try to get permission, and then you just go there.
And when you get there, what kind of camera did you use?
At that time, this was 2014, right? So this is interesting. Like, this was 2014. Now we're 2021. This is now when I have it's fully funded. It took a long time. So back then, I was using the Canon 5D Mark II. So, but that the camera technology, it moves very quickly, but it's still usable, I would say. Yeah.
And about the video editing, which one did you use?
Edit for editing, I use Avid, but I actually prefer to not edit myself. But for the scenes that I shot, I did edit myself to create a sort of trailer that I could use to pitch my project, right? So for that, and I have edited myself too. Actually, another short film, another documentary I made, I also edited myself because of budget restraints. We all know what that is. So yeah, then I use Avid.
Yeah. And did you supervise maybe the editor?
Yeah, when I'm fortunate to hire an editor, then or to work with an editor, then I follow the process very closely, I would say. Yeah, but I'm not always hawking next to them because I even had an editor that was working with me virtually. So it was all through notes, and seeing a draft and talking online. Yeah.
It's part of the process. Sometimes
Mm,
you're stuck in between two takes, and which one is the best one, and you're inside it, and so you have to trust your editor at some point at the end, I guess. Yeah.
sure, sure.
Can you tell me about the sound, music, and light? Um, I know music is important. I don't know, did you use it for your documentary?
Yeah, actually, for the documentary, I was fortunate to have very interesting natural, what you call it, like music that was already in the environment, so I could use that as well. Yeah, because there was a performance there that I just recorded, so I used it. But so this is, let's say, what I recorded is like a short version of the long version of the project. So we are planning to, also include some con music, which is Thai traditional music, and maybe some chanting from the nuns. But we might be also considering mixing in some more modern music that the kids are actually listening to. So we get that contrast together.
Yeah, it's a good mix, I think.
Mm,
Different kind of music moods. So yeah,
yeah.
it's good. Um, Tell me, what is your best experience on set?
My best experience on set was maybe my last short film because it was so harmonious. It was just, sometimes shooting a film can be like have all kinds of drama involved. But the last short film, I felt like it was very harmonious, and I felt like I got, the headspace to execute my vision and the trust around me to do so. So I could do it to the fullest. And so, yeah, that was a really lovely experience.
Do you have some anecdotes maybe?
Pardon?
Do you have some anecdotes maybe?
Anecdotes for why it was positive, you mean? Or
Or your best experience,
sure.
or maybe overall maybe?
Yeah, it was kind of like an overall vibe, but I can use an example. For example, with my actors. First of all, they were very good, and a lot of them were non-actors as well. But I feel like because I use a technique where I will have I will have the lines for the actors. This is for fiction, right? So they have their lines during rehearsal. They're allowed to word those lines how they find most fitting for them to say, more natural for them to say, and I will rewrite that in the script. But once that's done, it's more or less locked after rehearsal. So we come on to the and also in rehearsal we also develop their character, and they can bring a lot of you know of perspectives to their character, which I really like. Once we are on location, I like to keep that, what we explored already. I like to keep that. I don't want to necessarily go beyond that at that point. So I have a method where I give and take a lot. Like I open, I close, I open, I close. And I was very happy to work with actors who understood that process, that it's not either or, you know what I mean? That you can do both, and you can, and depending on what's appropriate at the time, and then they just follow. So I really appreciated that trust that they gave me, and also the outcome of their performance. So that was very satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm intrigued because this kind of the rehearsal is very benefic because if you show up on set like unprepared with no rehearsal, and the filmmaker has to he or she tries her his best, and it's kind of, you have to create something, atmosphere or something like this before, because yeah, emotion from human beings, like it's not camera settings, you don't push it on a button or stuff like this, and you roll the camera, and you have to set up something for the different actors. So it's yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, yeah, with your techniques.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. So you always wanted to do this job. Can you make a living from your passion?
First of all, I didn't always want to do this job, actually. I started early. I had a lot of hindrances in the way, and then I had other things I wanted to do in between. Somehow, filmmaking just held me by its claws and like dragged me back. I couldn't escape it. Now it's the only thing I want to do. Like I don't have a plan B, you could say. How can I make a living out of it? Right now, yes. And it's the first time, I guess, like the last couple of years is the first time I could do it, like what I feel like it's a decent salary for a grown up. You know what I mean? But before that, I could get by. Like a struggling artist kind of way, where I did jobs for other productions. I was a script supervisor. I was a producer for a feature documentary. I did commercials, content work, stuff like that. And yeah, so now it's when it's finally starting to be sort of okay. It took a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes time. Did you use the crowdfunding or the fundraising?
For my graduation film, I did use crowdfunding, actually, in two ways. I did the official crowdfunding, through Kickstarter, which was basically family and friends, maybe the odd stranger. But I also did it in real life, where I don't know if you call it crowdfunding, but you go together with other people in your class. And in London Film School, each person has a budget. So if you go together, you have more, right? So I would go together with two other people, a film photographer and a producer. And we will pool our budget together, and then we would crowdfund on top of that. Yeah.
Okay, but you started online, and then or maybe you show up on the classes, or
Pardon?
and you. No, I said you started the crowdfunding online, right? All together.
We did it together. We went in the class, well, not in the class, but the team of three. We made this crowdfunding together. Yeah.
Okay. Face to face.
The team of three was face to face, but we created a video and like stuff for Kickstarter, so that became online. Yeah.
Yeah, you need a description and an intro to.
Exactly. But I found it a bit awkward. Like I personally, like I see a lot of people are great at kickstarting, or what do you call it, crowdfunding, and they enjoy that process. For me, I don't like it because I feel like I don't like asking people for money. Not that way. So it's very, you have to do what works for you. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. But it's kind of another job, you know,
for sure, for
to
sure.
ask. Uh, have you experienced film festivals?
Sure, I have. Yeah. I even worked in one, Rotterdam Film Festival. I worked as an assistant programmer.
How was it?
It was it was very, it's a great learning experience to see how it works, and watching a whole lot of movies. So you learn a lot from that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely.
Sure.
And so you submit your films.
I do. So I had uh, my graduation film. It was nominated at 5 different film festivals, among them Bogota Short Film Festival, which is the Oscar qualifying one, and some other ones as well. I didn't go to them because, yeah, I didn't go to them, and I even got honorable mentioning at Isle of Wight, which is not too far away. It's like in England. But at that time, I was just like super shy. I don't know why. I felt too shy to be in the room watching it with so many other people. So my actors, they went, you know, but I didn't go. I don't know. I'm very strange. I'm not like that, you know, but back then, it's like, it's something I had to work on with myself. And these days, I'm not like that. So, yeah.
You yeah, definitely. Yeah, because speaking on with an audience, it's like you're I don't know, you talk from your heart, so you're
You feel so exposed. Like back then, I was so sensitive. I felt so exposed. I remember just watching it on one screen in London, and I was just feeling this adrenaline like this, and I was like, "Oh, this is uncomfortable. I'd rather not." But yeah, then after a while, you're like, actually, you start enjoying it. You start enjoying people's response, whatever it is, good or bad, but it's still nerve-wracking regardless, because you are, like you said, you're sharing something from the depths of your soul.
definitely, yeah. So that's the yeah. You learned from it, so that's really important. So yeah. Yeah, with the technology nowadays, anyone can buy a camera and video editing. They can start to make a film. Uh, do you think it's the future of cinema? It's positive or good or bad?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because now that more people have more access, you feel like it's more, in a way, more democratic. So in a way, I think it's good, because people who didn't have the economical means before have more access. However, filmmaking is still very expensive regardless. I don't think it has come to a point where it's super affordable yet, even though you can make short films now relatively affordable, which was not the case before, when you had only 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter, which was very expensive. At the same time, I feel like just because more people can do it doesn't necessarily mean that everything's going to be amazing. It's going to be a lot of people who, it's going to be a lot of crap, you know? And then it's sort of, it becomes a very saturated. So I guess it's also, yeah, like it's like pros and cons, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I agree. Yeah, it's a lot of you can have a good things and bad things, but it's nothing is bad because because it's about heart. Heart, it's something it's an expression. So it's some it's I don't know. It's very I don't know. I think you can really judge something, a film, a art. Of course, you have an opinion, but it's different. So.
Yeah, I think it's more in terms of, let's say, people who, like producers who are funding things, or film festivals. They're, let's say, they are feeling like they're getting flooded. It's not as special anymore, you know? Or maybe it's still special, but it's not as special anymore when you get a short film, because there's so many. They're being made in such a quantity. Do you understand? So I think there's something about that, because it's so, uh, in a way, easy. It's not easy, but if you sort of, you can make a film now without having thought through it too much, especially a short film, and it's not going to be good if you are not taking it seriously. And a lot of people think that, oh, now a camera, now I can just film something and it's a film. I will beg to differ, because I feel like a film has a direction, you know, it has a vision. It's not something you just do at a spur of the moment, sort of thing. Yeah.
They can, when they start, they can practice, and by practicing, they can evolve, they can improve, perfecting, of course, and
For sure. I think it's good that more people have access to it, because there's also the talented filmmakers who, you know, who take their time and who have intention but maybe not have the means. So for those filmmakers, it's amazing that it's now accessible, right? And also, like you say, you don't necessarily have to go to film school, because if you have the discipline and you have some some capital, you can buy a camera and you can practice as well. Yeah.
yeah, and thanks to the internet, because you can search some
Tutorials.
yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely from yeah YouTube.
For sure, for sure. You know, all the information is there now and all the tools are there, which is great. What you do with that is up to you. Yeah. It's,
Yeah, because like you said, we swamped a lot of
yeah,
information, and we are filter
exactly.
sometimes.
It's like, you
And
could say, you know, I also believe you don't really have to go to university to study, because all the information has been out there, not as accessible as today, but you could go to a library, all the books in the pensum, you could go there, and you have YouTube videos. The problem is that the discipline. Not everyone has the discipline to perfect their craft. And a lot of people want a shortcut. A lot of people want instant gratification. And that's why, when you only have the tools, but you don't have the patience, the talent to get there, then it's just annoying.
no, you mark a point. So you have a point with that. It's definitely you nail it. The situation there. You just have the yeah. You just draw the situation. It's the landscape is like this. So you're right. You're right. Definitely. Can you tell me what do you think about cinema in general nowadays? The
Right.
current cinema.
It's interesting, because it's going in two directions at the same time. So you have all these franchise films who are, you know, like 80% of what we see in the cinema right now. And then you have, which is, of course, like hyper commercial. But then at the same time, you have a bigger interest for storytellers and stories, or a growing interest for storytellers and stories that, from communities and from people that we haven't really heard from before, those kind of filmmakers, such as myself, or maybe yourself as well. And I find that interesting, that these two things, because we were kind of like in the margins before. So having like the underdogs and the upper dogs meeting at the same time in the same sphere is quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it was always like that. I think, I think, for instance, American cinema during the 70s, they tried to bring I don't know, a new state of mind, different from the Polish movies. Very too beautiful. No, no, nothing like human
Oh, you
being.
mean the French New Wave? Is that what you're talking about?
I was
Yeah.
about to tell that
Mm.
la nouvelle vague,
Yeah.
and the American movies because they talk about the politics, talk about the society,
Yeah.
from the 60s and then the 70s, the
Mm.
hippies and the civil rights and stuff like this. So
Mm.
it was moving, always changing, and I don't know what was my idea to tell
But I
that.
don't think it was so extreme as it is today because I feel like, these franchise films, like you didn't have, like franchise films in the 70s, they were like kind of pulpy. You know what I mean? They were seen as kind of like B movies. While today, these sequels are seen as A movies. You know what I mean? Like they have that type of quality, that type of budget, and that type of audience. So it's very heightened in a way on that side. And on this side, even in the 70s, you didn't have that many filmmakers who were women, who were people of color. You had one or two, like a few, but you didn't really have that many. And you didn't have a lot of people who were willing, or companies who were willing to fund their features. So I feel like that's why I feel like that side is more heightened now as well compared to the 70s. So for me, at least, I feel like that's something that's in a way very new, a new tendency in our time. Yeah.
Yeah, different. Yeah, because cinema. I think cinema is the witness of every time, every destiny.
Mm.
So it's very interesting, intriguing
Yeah, for
for the
sure.
future, for the future. So
Yeah.
and yeah, if you have the opportunity to work with someone, who could it be?
To work with someone, maybe Shirin Nishat. She's a Iranian filmmaker that I really admire. I really love her films. It's Women Without Men. It's like her debut feature, but I actually like her short films even more, like Rapture and others. So yeah, definitely her.
Cool. All right. Do you have some names, over names, maybe,
Other directors?
or
Uh,
directors?
yeah, sure.
You,
Pardon?
you, you're just an actress, right? Or you just a filmmaker?
I do act as well. Yeah, not as much, but I do act as well. Sometimes in my own projects. Yeah.
And you maybe do, I don't know, if you have the opportunity to work with a man or a woman.
Another actor, uh, Keanu Reeves. I would love to work with him. He seems fun.
Yeah, that's my favorite actor.
Yeah. John Malkovich. I would love to work with him as well. Lucy Liu. She's like a legend. Yeah, there's a lot of good actors I'd love to work with.
The list is so long.
For sure, for sure. What about yourself?
uh, like I told you, my favorite actor is Keanu Reeves, and
You kind of look like him a little bit.
okay, thank you so much. Okay, no, and about the director, I like John Woo. You know
Yeah,
John
yeah, yeah,
Woo,
sure.
and what is it? Tim Burton,
Yeah.
of course. I think, like everybody, Steven Spielberg.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I think any director,
Sure.
woman or man, because any project is interesting to get involved in.
Mm.
So yeah, it depends. It depends. You can have a different actors and the director. So
Yeah.
it depends the project and
Sure.
how
Yeah,
how
because
it can
the
be.
like big more commercial projects, you will learn a lot from that, and that has its own unique perspective as well. And more the indie projects, they have their own, perspectives. So I agree with you. Like there's something interesting in a lot of projects, no matter their budget, you could say.
I have a question about the casting
Mm-hmm.
process. How how do you find your actors in regarding the chemistry?
Yeah.
How can you try to I don't know try one actor with
Oh, why I
another
select
one?
one actor over
Yeah,
another actor?
yeah,
Yeah.
for instance. Yeah.
Well, there are many, what you call it, qualities that I'm looking for when I'm casting. One is, of course, talent, and the other one is the look. If it looks something that fits the character, sometimes it can surprise me. The actor brings something that I didn't even think of, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they're expanding that character. I think that's cool too. Um, but yes, so I will say that is the primary reasons if I am casting like solely on uh, audition tapes or auditions, right? But then there's other elements too. Maybe I worked with an actor before. I actually work with the same actors a lot, and I think a lot of directors do that, and the same comes to crew too sometimes, because you get so uh, you get very comfortable with each other, and you kind of, because you know how you're happy with how that person works or how they are, you feel like you have the maybe extra capacity to dive even deeper, right? Something like that. But I also like to work with new people. It's not that, but yeah, I do tend to mix it up. Some people I've worked with before, and some new people. um, yeah.
I think there's no formula. I think there's no formula, but I was just asking. But I think at the end there's no formula. You can try different combinations. This actor with this
Sure.
actress. And try
I think what's also interesting is um, whether you would hire the same actor again. That is, I think, is very interesting, because then there's more there are more things you are looking for then, right? So then it has something to do with chemistry. If I feel like the actor um, like trust my vision, and understands it. One thing is to trust it, another thing is to understand it. And also, if they are able to bring something to it as well, like maybe something that expands on the character, that doesn't go away from the character but expands it, um, that can take direction, and also who is professional. That is very important to me, that an actor is professional. You would think that's the basics, but it's not always the case. So, and you know how it is, especially in fiction, it's very expensive every day. So if we have very limited budget, and if people are not professional, you go over the time, and all of a sudden I cannot shoot everything that I wanted to shoot. I will have to cut things, so it's not the ideal situation. So yeah, professionality is very important to me, and also that you're a good person. I think that is something people don't talk about a lot, but maybe something that more and more people are starting to prioritize, having this zero zero asshole policy. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think it's an important thing because you involved in a
Yeah.
human project, human adventure. You're part of something. If you're not a good person on set, you will ruin
Yeah.
the text, the atmosphere or stuff like this. You
Vibe.
will change the
Change the
you sh-
atmosphere.
yeah, I don't know. You will change, I don't know
Yeah, into
the
something
film
it
in
wasn't
the end.
supposed to be. So that's not good. And also it's just not fun to work with, like that's why I really loved my previous shoots. I've been lucky though. It's not like I like most of my shoots have gone really well. But that one in particular, it was so harmonious, and yeah, it just makes you happy to go to set and see everyone, and you just feel like you can use your capacity to the fullest. You have the energy, like extra energy. So I like that.
Yeah, it's set on, it's smooth, it's the right
Yeah.
direction, and you will have some I don't know, some good takes for the
Yeah.
editing and the rest. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a big part to have the atmosphere, the
Yeah.
right atmosphere. But sometimes you can have it, but you don't have to be perfect, because if you search for the perfection, you won't have it. Yeah, on the contrary, you have the I don't know, the bad mood,
Yeah. Yeah,
basically,
you have to
or
keep an
the
open
vibe.
mind, and be flexible, of course. But I feel like when you make a movie, you're selecting your family for the time being. You know what I mean? For this project, because at least for me, all my films are very personal, even though they might not be autobiographical or anything like that. But like whatever you create will always be a reflection of the artist somehow. So I feel like I kind of want to be in an environment that understands that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right about that.
Mm.
When you write something and you direct it, you put some apart from you, but it's not like you said, autobiography. But yeah, it's definitely like you said. Yeah. Okay. All right. What do you wish in the short, mid, and long run as a filmmaker?
In the short run, I would like to get my feature made next year, and it looks like it's happening. So at least my documentary, I will have made that. And well, you never know. COVID has been in the way twice now. So, but yeah, but fingers
Yeah.
crossed, because I'm filming in Thailand, and right now they're very strict with quarantine and everything. So, but then, yeah, so the documentary for sure, and then also a fiction feature that I'm developing at the moment. So that's the short term. Long term, I like to explore many different genres. I'm actually making a short film right now that's sci-fi. And in the future, I'd like to make a really big project that is maybe sci-fi, or maybe even a franchise, a Marvel film or something. And the reason why is because like if someone who knows me knows that I hate superhero films, but I feel like you cannot complain about something if you're not willing to do something, that you like about it. You know what I mean? To improve it in the way that you think it could be made, like see the potential. So that's why I like that challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was thinking because any filmmaker they try to they direct a short film, right? Could be any genre, okay. And
Hmm.
we have a lot of filmmakers doing that. And in the same time, in parallel, you have other filmmakers.
Yeah,
They tried some web series
sure.
or some episodes, different stuff like this. And, they they have a long I don't know they have a long period to be
Hmm.
recognized by the audience, and they can a community
Sure.
of fans. So I think about this because uh, I directed a
Mm-hmm.
short film for just one years ago,
Yeah.
and it was a drama. And I was, I noticed that there's a difference because a lot of filmmakers are making films, and in the same time, just a few are making some web series, and
Yeah.
the results are very different in terms of festivals or
Yeah. Yeah,
even
it's
on
a
YouTube. So
different it's a different genre, you could say. It's more like how to say it's but it's also maybe it's budget restraints. I don't know. Maybe that's why it looks so different. Uh, it's hard
yeah,
to
it
say.
could be, yeah, because I don't know. Because there's an
Mm.
example here in France. They did two crowdfundings, and they were
Mm.
the European record to gain the money. So to fund the web series.
Mm-hmm.
They started in 2008, and they still continue. They're still doing it. So
Wow.
it's
Web
called
series.
Noob, Noob,
Okay.
Noob,
Oh, like a
Noob, yeah.
noob. Yeah, yeah.
And it was very at at that time, 2008. It was very cheap, all
Hmm.
the, but it's I don't know the atmosphere. It's good, and in the gain
Yeah.
some skills
Hmm.
over the years, and they made three movies. Yeah,
Wow. It sounds similar to, Issa Rae, Insecure. So she also started with making a web series long time ago. And then some studio picked it up, and then she got to make, Insecure, the TV show. I don't know if it's HBO or where it is. And now she has like an all over deal where she can make many different things. And yeah, so it's very interesting to see how things are developing now in terms of that you have YouTube, you have these public platforms that are open to anyone, so anyone can in principle create their own show if they feel like it. So that's you know good for them.
yeah. I was thinking about this example because you just told me that think about the universe. You want to set
For
some
me,
episode of
yeah, for me
different
it's like
stories.
maybe who never say never, but for me I have my style, you could say, like I have my approach. And for me, if I can't make something to its fullest extent how it was meant to be visually, then I rather wait, because I will be so bothered by it. That's just me. Like I can't do something halfway for me, I would rather wait. Okay, I have enough means now. Okay, I'll make that project. Or I have enough volunteers or whatever that was needed to create this project. So now I'll make it. Sometimes but I will stretch myself in order to get the shots that I want. For example, I was in this actually, I don't know if I should say this, but I was trespassing illegally. I went into this abandoned power plant. You know, you're not allowed to go inside, it's dangerous. I went there with a film photographer, risked my life. No, okay. Maybe it wasn't that dramatic. But I have been obsessing about this location for years. And I had a little folder where I gathered images, and then I Googled and I found a film photographer who had been there before, because there's a whole community. I don't know what they call the UXR, urban explorers. You know, it's short for urban explorers. So they go into these abandoned buildings all the time. So I had to find a film photographer who was willing to do that, because a lot of professional film photographers are not willing. And I even emailed one, and he didn't even reply to me after. I'm like, I hope you're comfortable with guerrilla shooting. You know, we're doing something illegal, but hope you're comfortable. He's like, no.
They want I have some
Yeah.
friends, they do that, and they took pictures, and
These Some of these locations are amazing, but it's a little bit of a risk, you know. So in those cases, I will do it. You know, like I will go to that extent to get the shot that I want, to get the scene that I want, even though if I don't have the means. But I will not do it halfway. I will not just shoot in a random place and then just have like, you know, one day and then shoot 20 pages, and then it's gonna not be, you know, how it was supposed to be. Yeah. I'd rather wait. But I'm very happy with other people doing it. You know, everyone has their style and everyone has what they prefer to do, and it's good that there's so many different people and content creators, filmmakers, you know. We all have our method. Yeah.
yeah, methods and I don't know, trying
Preferences. Yeah.
trying new things. So always, and why not
Yeah.
from a short film to go directly a short a feature film or a web series, and then you can in parallel do some photography. I don't know, some or the painting or writing a book, a novel.
Sure. Yeah. I love the fact that we live in a time now that accepts the Renaissance person, you know, the person who is able and has an interest in exploring different avenues. I consider myself one. So before there was like, you have to choose, are you a documentary filmmaker or are you a fiction filmmaker? And I'm both, you know, maybe you too, I don't know. And yeah,
Yeah, I think as you need to branch out to do different activities, different
stories are
stuff.
stories. Filmmaking is filmmaking. Now I'm even doing a hybrid project, which is documentary and theater together. I'm doing fine art. I'm making videos for a gallery space, you know, and I feel like, why should you have to limit yourself when you don't really need to? There's no good reason, really, if you have an interest to explore more avenues.
Yeah, I think I call that the comfort zone. It's not a good thing. So you have to try to I don't know.
Challenge yourself.
That's right. That's
Hmm.
right. Yourself, and just listen to your instinct, your gut.
Yeah,
So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
exactly.
Which tips can you give to someone who's gonna start?
Um, to a general tips, or in a particular, but what do they want to achieve?
Okay, okay. For instance, I don't know, a young filmmaker, a potential young filmmaker who wants to start film.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't. She doesn't know. how to do
Oh,
this,
just to
or
get started, I would say just do it. Get a camera, use your iPhone, film, like write the story, gather a team of different cast and crew, plan a little bit, and do it. That's how to start it, Starting, I find it interesting. A lot of people struggle with just starting. I never got that because if you're gonna start, just start. You know what I mean? Just do it. Another question is if you want to become a professional filmmaker. That is a lot harder because it's a very high competition space. So then you would need to have a lot of patience, and you would need to really push yourself to be the best filmmaker you can be by practicing your craft, by sowing many seeds. That's what I've said that a few times, that you cannot rely on one project and hoard that and like cross your fingers forever. You have to have many projects, many seeds, and then you have written 4 screenplays. You try to pitch one. I am speaking from my own experience. You get this far, and then you feel like you're like hitting a wall. Don't give up. Put that project on pause. Okay. Then we go to the next project I have. Okay. We try to pitch that further. Okay, that went here. For some reason, I met a person here that's interested in this project. Okay, now this project is moving along. So that's why I'm always advising people to plant many seeds, because trees, they take time to grow. And by the time, and different trees, some are bigger roots. They require more time before you can harvest the fruit. So that would be my biggest advice: to sow many seeds and be patient.
I love this image about the seeds, the trees. You can have different, the apple tree or the, I don't know, the pears, the olive
Yeah,
tree. They grow differently,
yeah.
so you can, yeah, it's a good example, I think. Yeah.
Mm.
Good, right. Another question. Almost done. Almost done.
No, I'm
Uh,
enjoying it.
thank you. Thank you. Which movie or series did grab your attention lately?
Lately, a series called The Chair that is on Netflix currently with Sandra Oh. It's about a university professor in England that gets the position of the chair. But what she doesn't know is that she has to fire all these old professors because their teaching is very dated, you know. And she's like having all these, struggles in between. And she's also Asian American. So, like there are all these, and a woman, and they never had a woman before. So there's all these really funny and touching and very real situations that they bring up in this show that I found very uh, admirable, inspiring, and also very entertaining. So yeah, it will be The Chair. I think that was the last show that grabbed my attention.
I wish I had the world to give you, baby. I don't even have the time to tell you bedtime stories or to chase away.
Yeah. So I'm currently the CMO of my father's company that is called Ocean Power Parks, and it's based on his invention, which is offshore wave power concept. And I feel like, I'm very passionate about the climate, but I feel like we are going in a too slow pace in order to replace fossil fuel. And I feel like we need to really, we really need to push government and everyone else to start, start reducing the consumption of fossil fuel and expand and invest in inventions that will take us to another, realm and help us slow down global warming, sorry. So I would ask people if they have the time to check out ocean power parks, and then they can see what it's all about. Cinema is here to stay. It is in a little bit of a challenging moment right now because people aren't going to the movies so much as they used to, and streaming is super convenient and I do it myself, but I would really encourage people to go to the cinemas, to the movies more, because we are so used to this fast pace of consuming content, and sometimes it's good to just put everything down and just really focus on what's in front of us, like on the story that we're seeing on screen. And I think that's like the magic of cinema, that you cannot experience anywhere else but the cinema. So I really encourage everyone to watch more movies in the cinema.
And I'm here